They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet 'cause they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho,
they're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Well, hi, everyone. My name is Shane Peterman, producing artistic director of WaterTower Theater here in Addison, Texas, just outside Dallas. I'm so excited to join you today from our offices here, where we have been safely working away to ensure that our theater company remains. You know, we were set to celebrate our 25th anniversary season with a groundbreaking lineup. However, we had to make adjustments like most businesses and especially theater companies during the pandemic. Our support both locally and beyond is what has made us one of the largest and most successful theater companies in North Texas for over 25 years. My story began with WaterTower some 20 years ago as an actor here before moving to New York City. And I often came back to perform on and off, and ultimately moved back here to North Texas with my beautiful wife, Erica, in 2007, where we started a family and opened a performing arts school called the Acting Studio. Now I'm humbled by the opportunity to serve as the theater CEO. As always, I'd like to begin by thanking a few folks. Thank you, Seth and James Truly, and their technical director, David, and our dear friend, Kara Serber, for this opportunity. Thank you to the town of Addison for their support, our amazing board of directors, our loyal patrons, our donors, especially our staff here, and our many artists and friends who have donated their time, and a special thanks to you for joining us today. Due to these challenging times, for lack of a better term, our company has had to scramble to ensure that we continue to provide entertainment safely. We proudly call ourselves a theater that builds community, and now have been focusing on community that helps to build theater. Your support is so important and appreciated right now. Our updated 25th season now includes 3 workshops and 3 new works and 3 live productions in 2021, all with streaming options for you to enjoy from the comfort and safety of your own home if you wish. Speaking of, here now to sing from one of those upcoming live productions, our world premiere musical set to debut next summer, are Broadway's Christine Cornish Smith and Brian Gonzales. Here's Any Time from Goin' Hollywood, a new musical by David Krane and Stephen Cole. Check it out.
You're right, Alice. Look at us. In one era and out the other. Any time is full of joy and tears. Any time a person lives. What is time but just a bunch of years? Just a gift that the universe gives. And I've learned that to wish for what you haven't got is not a crime. But take care, 'cause when the smoke clears, the years are precious few. And though every time is the same, it's not the time that's to blame. And I know now, any time is my time if I'm with you. Look, Alice, I know I love you more than you love me, and I don't blame you at all. I've been pushing this love story when it's really just an unromantic comedy. So when we get back, I'm going to move my things out, and I'm going to let you have your life back. We'll still be best friends and write musicals no one wants to produce, and I'll even scout out boyfriends for you, and I'll be the maid of honor at your wedding.
Shut up, idiot.
Wow.
Now and then are all a blur. What will be blends with what we were. Past and future and in between. What we'll see or what we've seen. From the ridiculous to the sublime. years, just a gift that the universe gives. What are we gonna do when we get back, Gar?
I don't know. I guess what we always do. We write about it. Tell what we've learned. What I've learned is to wish for what you haven't got is not a crime.
But take care, 'cause when the smoke clears, thy years are precious few.
And though every time is the same, it's not the time that's to blame. And I know now, any time is my time if I'm with you. Yes, I know now, any time is my time if I'm with you.
This score is this is a great show. I can't wait. That was Adam C. Wright on the piano. So thank you guys. I would love to introduce Mr. David Krane, who wrote the music, and Mr. Stephen Cole, a friend of mine for quite a while, who wrote the book and lyrics. Gentlemen, please join me, and I welcome you.
Okay.
Hi, Shane. Oh, that was
There,
beautiful.
Shane. How are you doing?
Who wrote that?
Oh my God,
Oh,
we did.
They did a wonderful job. I mean,
That's our big 11 o'clock ballad. It's towards the end of the
Yes.
show. Setting it up, you know, it really is towards the end of the show when our two lead characters finally figure things out. Did you tell them anything about the plot?
I have not, but that's why I thought I'd bring you two on board to tell us a little bit. Tell us, how did this, how was this show conceived? How did you guys, how'd you get it going?
Well,
Go
let's
ahead.
see. I had this bizarre idea because David and I would get together and work on our shows, and I would say things like, "Oh gosh, we would be the biggest things ever if we had been born so many years before, if we had been born in time for MGM musicals." And we would say that and laugh about it. And one day the idea came to me of a magical show where two writers, and in our show, they are a male and female writer, who write musicals, figure out a magic way to go to a restaurant in Grand Central Station called the Super Chief Dining Car, a complete replica of the real thing. And as they start to eat their lunch and drink their martinis, the restaurant itself starts moving across country and back in time to 1949, where they get jobs at MGM. And these incredible adventures ensue. But what really happens is they learn that every time is just as bad as the time they came from, or just as good. And for them, only love, which is what happens in this song, is what keeps you going. And so little did we know that these times would be even more pertinent to the plot than then. But that's how we came up with the idea. And it's a totally original show. We kicked it around and we did rewrites. And
it's been developing.
What do you think, David?
Well, it's been developing. What's been exciting about it is that we figured out by dint of their desire and their talent that they're earnest. They made this magical wish, and it's about the proof of focusing your creative energy into something and having it come true. In their case, we went that extra mile, and they went that much farther into time, focusing your creative energy into something.
Stephen, I think if you're watching it, it's a little delayed, so you might have to view the one you're watching. But David, tell me a little bit. You're credited from Broadway, movie musical, with Marshall. Could you speak to the the magic and you know, really writing for the theater and what used to be live theater that will be again, and kind of the big differences that you have experienced?
You mean the difference between writing for theater and for film?
Correct.
Well, the one thing that Rob Marshall, whom I've worked with on going back for the last 30 years on his theatrical shows as well as film, Rob would say to us, "This is for keeps. This is something we have to do our very best." So the amount of time and precision and the idea that this is going to be in a moment in time that will be able to be revisited. And I remember saying to my husband Rick when we saw Mary Poppins Returns, and we went to a movie theater in Connecticut after we had seen the premiere, and we went to an afternoon matinee, and there was no one there, just a few of us. And then we after it was over, I was awash in tears because I said to Rick, "This is going to outlive me. This is going to outlive us." Now, the thing about theater is it's all much more in the moment. It's much more in something that, and we're kind of melding both the magic of film and the magic of love of film musicals into a theatrical piece. So I think we're kind of doing something very original, doing something merging, something that I've created a kind of a jazz score that I take from various different references from movie musicals. I'm not doing a pastiche of anything. I'm doing, there are aspects of Dave Brubeck, there are aspects of the great David Raxon, who wrote the Bold and the Beautiful, that had this kind of erudite LA movie, cinema noir idea, and just taking, and also the great Comden and Green that were also, in the bandwagon and so on. So, but it's all a love for it. It's a love for the period, and the fact that we've gotten to this point in time, Stephen and I, that we're kind of, it's kind of like a culmination of everything that we know and that we've done. So we're especially proud and especially thrilled that that will be produced, that you're producing us at the WaterTower next year.
Well,
really
thank you. We're humbled to have it, and that's one of the reasons why I chose this and came to you guys, because it's ultimately a beautiful, entertaining piece. And Stephen, can you speak a little bit, kind of circling back to how you mentioned that it may resonate with audiences today?
Well, the characters are desperate to leave the present time. To them, it's rotten and awful. And then we wrote this before the present time was quite as rotten and awful. So I think it resonates even more. It's the yearning for the great past. And for these people specifically, it's movie musicals of 1949 and MGM. But for anybody, I think we all somehow yearn to go back to a time that is a little simpler, something, where we don't wear masks and where we're not afraid every single day. And so I think it will resonate, and it will, as you say, entertain. It is also, I would never call it an escapist musical, because we touch on the blacklist, and we touch on McCarthyism, and we touch on all those things that happened
sexual
in
discrimination.
Hollywood. So, I mean, everything gets touched on, but it is wildly entertaining. And David, I have to say, musically, not only does what he said he did, but he does what he always does, which is write character and situation. And the music is not the same as the lyrics. We never do the same thing at the same time, because sometimes he's the subtext and sometimes I'm the subtext. Sometimes the music is so incredibly romantic and it's saying something with the words that is not romantic. So that's how we work. We try to get it to the audience viscerally, so that they think and they feel at the same time. As Yip Harburg, the great lyricist of The Wizard of Oz, says, with a great song, you can feel a thought, or you can think a feeling. And that's pretty amazing when you're inside of a show. And musical theater is magical. I mean, we don't even tell you how they get back and how this train goes. It's a magical thing. I'm not trying to do sci-fi here where I'm going to explain why it happens. It's the wish fulfillment. And whether it really happens or not, well, you know, did Dorothy go over that rainbow? Well, we'll see.
Right. Well, Stephen also hands me, you know, spectacularly crafted lyrics, entire numbers, structured, and again, his rhymes are thought of only as that particular character would write it. So I choose a particular note not just to write a melody, but rather to illuminate the emotion of the thought. It's kind of like it kind of channels through us, and I think Stephen does that as well, and that's why I think we collaborate so well together. And we are very proud of this one, especially.
And it's funny.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
It's a very funny. It is a musical comedy with an accent on the comedy, because it is, and satire, which it's satire, and satire is not only what closes on Saturday night, as George Calvin said, but it's also it has to be comedy. Comedy is how you do this. Satirizing the world we're living in.
We're set to workshop this soon and to have auditions, and I have a good feeling that that's going to happen. But we got to get you guys over to Texas from New York. But thanks again for trusting us with this piece, and thank you for joining us today. We're very excited, and this is the crown jewel.
Thank you. We're thrilled.
We're going to get.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
And thanks to those great singers. Bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian and Christine. It was beautiful.
Yeah, very talented guys. Thank you. One of the first decisions I had to make when I came on board here is who I wanted as an artistic collaborator, and many wonderful people threw their names into the ring. However, one in particular who I knew from years past to be a very talented lady and a consummate professional rose quickly to the top. I'd like to welcome our associate producer, Miss Elizabeth Kensek.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Elizabeth.
I have to say, I remember getting that phone call and hearing I was in the remaining 3 candidates and all of a sudden panicking about having to pack up my life, but it's the best decision I ever made.
Elizabeth had kind of 1 foot in New York and 1 foot here in North Texas, and so it was it was hard, but I'm glad that you're here, and we are surviving in large part because of you. I'd like to talk a little bit about your 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
How excited you are about the season and those kinds of things.
I am so excited. And yeah, just this last Wednesday was officially my 1-year anniversary here at WaterTower. I couldn't be prouder to be a part of this community and this amazing organization with so much history. We are so excited about our 25th season. And as Shane said, we've had to make some difficult decisions, but we're very hopeful that we will be able to safely produce in the coming year. So the plan for the coming season is to present both in person with socially distanced audience as much as we need to be, and also with a companion viewing ability to have the ability to see and stream the show from your home. So as always, the safety of all of our performers, all of our creative people, all of our patrons is at the forefront of every decision that we make. So with that in mind, this spring in 2021, we will be starting off with our first main stage production of Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. That play is by Simon Stevens, directed by our own Emily Scott Banks, and we are just thrilled to be presenting this groundbreaking play. It's going to be presented in the round, and it is one of my favorite plays ever written. It's literally one of the few shows I saw twice on Broadway because I loved it so much I had to see it again. We have moved that production from its original dates in February to March, and it will be followed by the great American classic Raisin in the Sun, by the incredible Lorraine Hansberry, directed by Phyllis Cicero. Phyllis wanted to be with us today, but her busy teaching schedule did not allow, so she was kind enough, with the help of her friend Alyssa Pettigrew, to send us a video to share with all of you.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Cicero. I am a director, actor, and master teaching artist here in Dallas, Texas, and I have been given the most wonderful opportunity to direct Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun for the magnificent WaterTower Theater. We are looking to do this next March, April, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of this project. I remember when we did this season announcement in February, one of the points that I made was just how poignant this play is, how timeless this play is. But I knew that my direction would change a little bit depending on the election. However, little did I know that in March, the entire country would change. The atmosphere, the pandemic, the protests would absolutely color this country in a very different hue. So I'm excited about encouraging and including some of the new political and social background and environment that we find ourselves in today into the wonderful works and beautiful language of Lorraine Hansberry. When I read the play, I was struck by the fact that no matter how much things change, so many things stay the same. And I think the situation in the play absolutely resonates as, wow, this is a story that we've been telling for a very long time. And to that end, I would like to give the play a little more contemporary look, a contemporary feel. I don't want the audience to walk away thinking that was in the past and we don't have to worry about that anymore. I want them to have this sense that this is happening right now. I think the present political climate, the social climate that's happening right now, the health pandemic that's happening right now, reinforces the fact that, wow, this story has been told over and over again and it's still the same. We have to make changes now. And I think the play will absolutely benefit. It's not an old Negro gospel that only my grandmother sings. This is hip hop, this is current, this is what's happening now. The quest for a better home, the quest for a better neighborhood, the quest for better schools, the quest for better relationships. The quest for better is as old as mankind. From Adam in the Garden of Eden, he wanted a little bit better, and that's why he tasted that apple. We always want a little bit better. And I don't think that dream is deferred or different simply because you're not all the same color. What struck me as absolutely phenomenal is the language of the play. As I said, I really wanted to contemporize the look of the play, including some maybe green screen, some stop motion, especially since we'll have the opportunity to live stream it. But I was a little bit worried and I thought, I don't want to change any of the language. And as I went through and I did more research, I realized I don't have to change a word. Lorraine Hansberry is spectacular. The language is exquisite. And what I look forward to is encouraging my actors to find ways of delivery that's a little more contemporary, because the words are fantastic. The words say exactly what they should say. But we can add a little bit of something to bring it forward. So that once again, as I said, the look that I'm looking for, the language that I'm looking for, the legacy that I want to this production to represent is just how relevant this work is today. I want to say a huge thank you to WaterTower Theater for having the courage to put this play on. When it was announced in the season, we were in a very different world, and I can almost guarantee by the time we go into production, it might be a whole nother new world. So very grateful for them for having the courage to put this play on and to put it in their season. And thankful to Lorraine Hansberry Estate for allowing us to live stream the production so that we can rehearse and produce it in a safe manner that is inclusive to everyone involved. So theater has taken quite a hit this year in 2020, and we'd like to be a beacon that can show you how it needs to be done and can be done when you've got these amazing creative minds working together to figure out a way to get these words, to get this art, to get this masterpiece in front of the people. Pueblos, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Phyllis. We're so honored to be doing Lorraine Hansberry's masterpiece with Phyllis on board. She's fantastic. The final show of our main stage productions this year will close our 25th season with Go in Hollywood in June. And thanks to Stephen and David for joining us today. As Shane mentioned, we are choosing now to invest in the future of music theater with 3 workshops of brand new musicals this season, which our subscribers will be able to enjoy from home and get the opportunity to share their incredible thoughts with the creators via surveys and via talkbacks and be a part of the process of the future. Dallas has an incredible community of artists and patrons alike, and this is going to bring together those 2 groups into a community that can build theater for the future and the future of new works, several of which have been developed by local playwrights and composers right here in Texas. WaterTower, we are committed to being a fully professional theater, which means that everybody who works with us gets paid. Your financial support of professional arts organizations like WaterTower support real jobs for artists, from playwrights to composers to musicians to actors to designers, electricians, carpenters, scenic artists, many of whom have been unable to work during this very difficult time in the recent months, which have really impacted our industry.
That's right, Elizabeth. One of the local playwrights and actors, a dear friend of ours, Donald Fowler, wrote a show that was developed here at WaterTower Theater back in 2015. Creep was to date one of the most successful shows we have ever produced. Late last year, Donald and I began to talk about his second piece entitled Oregon. We were set to begin workshopping later this year until, unfortunately, Donald passed away suddenly just this spring. We are very much committed to producing his final work. We are also reminded just how precious our time here is and how our art is precious, and our legacy that leaves is very important. And perhaps more than others and other vocations, our art has the opportunity to truly live on. And for that, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for Donald. Here is A Tree is Just a Tree, shared with us by Donald's dear friend and very talented performer, Patty Breckenridge, singing vocals, and actually features Donald accompanying her on the piano.
I like a tree to be a tree. I like a bird inside my hand. I like the road to be a path. I don't work to understand. And all this flourish, this sleight of hand, just smears what's true as ocean smears the sand. What's left behind is something less. It isn't more, no, it's just excess. I like a man to be a man. I like his word to be his bond. He shouldn't cheat because he can. He shouldn't leave you feeling conned. And the meaning of what was there is never known, and he doesn't care. Oh, he will set the sky ablaze. He will delight. Oh, he will amaze. But when the spark ebbs away, he disappears in your... Anyway, I like a tree to be a tree. A tree is just a tree.
Well, Larry Gatlin is a Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter who was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame recently and ranks in Billboard's top 5 solo writer of all time. He has been a Grand Ole Opry member for more than 40 years. He and his brothers Steve and Rudy are celebrating their 65th anniversary with a digital multi-album release through Time Life. Larry penned all the hit songs scored by legendary trio. And he also starred in Tony Award-winning musicals, The Will Rogers Follies and Frank Wildhorn's The Civil War on Broadway, and the First National Tours. Here to talk about his new musical Scandal is our friend, Mr. Larry Gatlin. Larry, come on in.
Can you see me?
I enjoy Elvis modeling very responsible behavior with his mask there.
Yes, I have mine right here. But this was me.
There, yep.
Hey, it's Will Rogers.
Twirling the rope in Will Rogers. So are we practicing safe blogging?
You can do whatever you want, Larry. It looks like you're in your home office. So how are you, my friend?
I am greatly blessed, greatly blessed. We're safe and sound here. Going through all the turmoil that everybody else is, but there's a place in the good book. It says, fear not. That's not a suggestion, that's a commandment. So I'm doing my best to fear not and help everybody get through this.
Well, let's talk Scandal. Tell us about your show. Tell us how it came about. Let's talk about it.
Well, I really enjoyed what the gentleman, and I didn't catch their names, please forgive me, the show about the MGM and going back. For me, whether it's a 3-minute song or 4 lines of a poem or whether it's a musical we're storytellers. That's what, if we don't do that, then, we're wasting our energy and our time and the lead and the pencil and paper and trees and all that. So I very much appreciated and enjoyed what they said. When I was a little boy, my grandpa, who taught me to play baseball, taught me to sing, the finest old gentleman you'd ever know, he worked for the Sinclair Oil Company. And Harry Sinclair was involved in one of the biggest scandals, the first huge scandal of the 20th century. And it was all circling around a place in Wyoming called the Teapot Dome. There's a big natural rock formation. You can go Google it. And it had a little teapot and a little spout on it. Now, the spout has since fallen off, but there was a big oil dome under it, pool billions and billions of gallons of oil, barrels of oil. So it was a big scandal. And my papa worked for Sinclair Oil, and people started calling him Teapot because his name was Clib Doan, D-O-A-N. We are direct line descendants of Deacon Doan, who was on the Mayflower, and we are direct line descendants of John Doan. No man is an island unto himself. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So the storytellers, So for years, I have wanted to write a musical called The Scandal at Teapot Dome. So you, Shane, have given me that opportunity, and our dreams and plans were kind of sidelined a little bit. But as it pertains back to those gentlemen who were talking a while ago, we're storytellers. He mentioned The Wizard of Oz. Well, that's a story, an incredible story, one of the greatest, maybe the greatest musical ever written. And you might have thought whoever wrote that was on crack or something, but they weren't. They were just doing what storytellers do. They told the story. A friend of mine many years ago told me, as it pertained to God and religion, he said, Larry Gatlin, and he was a mystical cat. Jack Bolin lived up in Detroit. He was a minister. He said, Larry Gatlin, he said, you can put God in as big a box or a smaller box as you want to, or you can just take him out of the box or take her out of the box or whatever that God thing means to you. So over the years, I've tried to take God, the creative impulses and ideas that he's given. I've tried to take them out of the box. Well, guess what? couple of years ago, I was sitting in this chair, as I try to do once a day, kind of thinking and letting, you know, one of my favorite philosophers, Blaise Pascal, the Frenchman, said, all of men's miseries derive from not being able to sit alone in a chair in a quiet room. So, for all of my blabbering, I try to sit in this chair at least once a day in a quiet room and see. And a couple of years ago, as I sat here, you can put God as big a box or small a box. You can take him out of the box or how. I realized in my life, there ain't no box. There's no box. Tell the story, you know. And Shane, you and I have talked about this. The great absurdist French, which is almost a, you know, of terms. He once said, every great story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. Not necessarily in that order. Right? So the story of Scandal, I've taken liberties. It is based on what I know about the scandal, about my grandfather's life. Because, like I say, it was Teapot Dome, D-O-M-E, the oil dome. His name was Clive Doan. So people started calling him Teapot. And when we buried him, the preacher over my grandfather's casket said, y'all all knew Teapot Dome. And everybody laughed. That's what everybody called him. I called him Papa. But it's a marvelous story. It has a happy ending because that old gentleman taught me about singing and about songs. And my uncle, his son, believe it or not, when I was 10 years old, this is crazy. My uncle sat me down and told me I needed to read Ulysses, for God's sake, or for heaven's sake. So you talk about storytelling. I'm one of the only 300 people on earth who've really read it. Everybody claims they have. It's storytelling. Who in the world knows what that book is really about? And a lot of people think it's the greatest novel ever written, or the greatest book ever written. So my granddaughter, and I'll close with this, my granddaughter came to me a couple of years ago, Parker. She said, Papa, what books do you want me to read so that I can write words and put them together like you do? I said, well, you need to read Ulysses by James Joyce. But I said, you won't understand it because nobody understands it. But it has some of the most beautiful prose in the history of the English language. I said, he wrote another book called The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. And there is something in there you can understand. And here's what he said. He had to leave his own country of Ireland because they were going to throw him in jail because of the last chapter of Ulysses. It got a little, you know. So I said, this sentence you can understand. It says, welcome, O life. I go for the millionth time to of experience, my mind, I call of experience. He said, I go, and there in the smithy of my soul, I will forge the uncreated conscience of my race. The people in Ireland, the nobility, the preachers, the rich people, they had no conscience because of the horrible things they did to the Irish people.
Larry, let's do some singing.
Said Dublin was an open air insane asylum. So he had to give them a conscience, and he did it with his book Ulysses.
Do you have a guitar over there, Larry?
Anyway, he's a storyteller. That's what I do. There ain't no box. You're going to let me do it. You're going to help me do it, and it has a happy ending.
Speaking of happy endings, do you have a guitar near you?
I do.
Will you play us out with some? Just take a couple of minutes and let's hear some of the score, please, sir.
Okay. My grandfather and I, 1956, he bought a TV. Well, they were Pentecostal people, and my granny called it the one-eyed God. She hated the TV, but Papa knew that he could see things. And we sat there one Sunday night. We skipped church, and we saw this guy named, Elvis Presley, when he was on Ed Sullivan Show. So my crazy guy, Harry Sinclair, is going to come out he's going to come out in this big suit, this Elvis suit, and he's going to have a picture of the Teapot Dome behind him, and he's going to sing, I'm Harry Sinclair, and that there is Teapot Rock, and there's millions and billions and billions of barrels of oil under that very spot. I'll do whatever I have to do to get filthy, stinking rich. Because I'm a low down, rotten, awful, horrible, no good son of a dum dum da da da. Okay, we go back a little bit in time because it doesn't have to come in the same order. And Deacon John Doan gets off the Mayflower and he says, I'm Deacon John Doan, and that there is Plymouth Rock. And there's billions and billions and billions of acres of land west of this spot. And we'll do whatever we have to do to make Christians out of the Native American area. Because I'm a low down, rotten, awful, no good son of a da-da-da. So it's fun. It's storytelling. We're going to laugh at ourselves a little bit. Here's what I know. You can do all of the dramatic things on stage and you can sing, God. And I love it. I love Les Mis. I love it. You know who you walk out remembering? You remembering the show? Master of the house, keeper of the zoo. You remember Thénardier.
My dad's favorite character.
Funny wins every time. I think funny wins every time. So with the dramatic things of the life travails that we all have and what my grandfather went through, because people were really making fun of him. You're working for this crook, but this wonderful, godly man, he took it and he smiled and he took it on his and he was proud of it. So, Shane, I'm grateful to you for letting me throw all this thing together. There ain't no box, and I can say ain't if I want to because I'm an English major. And since I can quote the Tomorrow Soliloquy from Macbeth, I can say ain't if I want to.
Larry, thank you for being here, man. So good to see you. We're excited to do it. We're going to have fun. Thank you, Larry. We'll talk to you later. We love you, buddy. Thank you.
Okay, I love y'all. I'm going to go play golf. Bye.
All right.
Elvis,
Keep wearing that mask, Elvis.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Doug Wright's I Am My Own Wife debuted on Broadway in 2003. And the video, sorry, I'll have to try this again. Doug Wright's I Am My Own Wife debuted on Broadway in 2003 and has been seen in various other theaters worldwide. WaterTower Theater was recently honored with the task of capturing this Tony and Pulitzer-winning masterpiece for the video streaming platform in a safe environment, of course, during the pandemic. This turned out not only to be really the crown jewel of this season for us, but a true highlight of the theater as a whole, historically setting a precedence for this new format.
When we were approaching this process, of course, saving the jobs of our team and our artists was really important, but most important was ensuring that everybody could complete this process safely. So in addition to Texas State and CDC safety standards, I worked with every single department here at WaterTower to set standards for the filming of this piece to keep everyone safe. We were able to set up and maintain an environment where nearly all of the rehearsals, all of the production work and design work was done over Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. Many of the amazing designers that we got to work with never even stepped foot into our theater. And the first time they saw their work was when it was on stage, on film. Once we were ready to put our actor up on stage and start the final work, everything that they would need to come in contact with had been sanitized and quarantined so that there was no need for any person, whether that was the actor, director, designers, crew people, anyone to have contact with each other or touch the same item in succession. It was a little lonely. We all retreated to our own safe spaces during the day, but creating a show was an incredible experience, and everyone on our team, I just want to say thank you for taking safety and sanitary standards so very seriously so that we were able to be successful.
Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from I Am My Own Wife. Here we go.
From the desk of Doug Wright, New York City. Dear Charlotta von Malsdorf, recently, while in Berlin, I visited your museum. My childhood friend John Marks and I were just awestruck by your furniture collection and your astounding array of Addison phonographs. But I must confess, I was no less impressed by the mere fact of your survival. I grew up gay in the Bible Belt. I can only begin to imagine what it must have been like during the Third Reich. The Nazis and the communists. I mean, it seems to me like you're an impossibility. You shouldn't even exist. So, here's the presumptuous portion of my letter. I would love the opportunity to continue to study your life in order to write a play about you. With your support, I can apply for funding, fly back to Berlin, and begin to write in earnest. As far as grant applications go, forgive me, but from where I sit, you're a slam dunk. Even if you reject my proposal, please know that the morning you shared with us was one of the most memorable of my life. Thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Doug Wright. Dear Mr. Wright, yes, perhaps it is possible for you to make a play. Maybe you will visit Berlin after Christmas. Even when I was a little child, no one wanted phonographs. Everyone said to me, oh, it's so old-fashioned. They all wanted radios, but what did I want with a radio? To hear Hitler babble? No, thank you. That is the reason that even today, I don't have a radio or a television. None. Ah. For me, gramophones, polyphones, pianolas. I must truly say these machines gave me so much pleasure in my childhood. If I hadn't had them, I'm not sure I would have survived. Things were so ghastly with my father, everything my mother and I went through. But the music would pour through the horn and make things better.
Our goal was to create an experience that delivered the magic and authenticity of live theater while at the same time giving everyone not just the best seat in the house, but the perfect seat for each scene. Technically, we understood that recreating the live theater experience for the viewer was extremely important. So we chose to present the final production in 4K using multiple cinema cameras. This resulted in a beautiful and intimate deliverable by our director of cinematography, David Singer, CEO of Story and Heart Films, and his team. Ashley Puckett Gonzales' direction was extremely well thought out, so changing any of her vision for the taping was not an option for us. So we needed to partner with a film producer and director who not only had an extensive history in delivering live entertainment, but also a background in theater. This decision made the process seamless, and I'm so thankful to our team, many designers, starring, of course, the incomparable Bob Hess. We really got rave reviews, and I would love to have Mr. Doug Wright, the playwright, come in to join us and talk a little bit about this production. Doug?
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hello.
Good to see you. And you'll have to excuse me, but I have one very faithful viewer of Stars in the house, and that is my beloved godson, Leo. So if Leo is listening, I'm giving a little shout out.
Hi, Leo.
Hi, Leo.
But I was so thrilled that you guys so bravely decided to go forward with the production and to stream it. And I also have to say, as president of the Dramatists Guild, I'm also extremely thankful that you took such care in consulting with the Guild and doing it in a way that was workable for the theater, that was wonderfully fair to the writer, and that was within the prescribed guidelines by the Guild. Because in this very challenging moment, as more and more theaters are attempting to stream productions, it's the Wild West out there. And it's the Guild's job to make sure that writers are still treated fairly and the work is still honored. And WaterTower really did an exemplary job of that. As well as producing a really beautiful production of my play. And since Dallas is my hometown, my investment in that was profound. And Bob Hess certainly delivers, not just as Charlotta, but as all 37 characters that the text required him to play.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Doug. That's so very sweet. And we've just been so pleased that you've been so supportive of what we try to do justice to this masterpiece that you created. I have to ask, did you have any hesitations when you got word that we were asking permission to video and present on video on demand?
Well, you know, it's such a theatrical piece because one actor does have to portray 37 people. So it truly is written for the stage. It requires the acumen of the actor, but it also requires the audience's imagination to complete every stage picture because there's really only one actor up there. And I know when the play initially came out, there was a lot of interest from Hollywood. And my reaction at the time was, why is it that the best thing that can happen to an American play is to see it made into a mediocre movie? Why can't a play just be heralded as a play and have a happy life? And so I've always been a little bit averse, because of its theatricality, to seeing this play on film. And yet I really do think that the director, Ashley Puckett Gonzales, and your technical staff were able to film it in a way that fully disclosed this is a play, this is a theatrical event. We're not presenting this as a movie, we're presenting it as a stage piece. And I think that's really the only way to film this particular piece of material.
Thank you for that. It was really important to all of us on the team, including Bob, our amazing actor, to make it feel like theater. We all miss that magic. We miss that magic of sitting in that dark room. And it gave a little bit of that back to patrons who've reached out and said that they could imagine themselves back in our purple seats again. How was it watching someone play you?
Oh, you know, I've had to live with that ever since I wrote the play. So
Is it a curse or a blessing?
Some of both, but I do think Bob really captured the spirit of a playwright who was considerably younger then, eager to tell this very singular story of someone that he met and came to think a great deal of. So I think he played me with a lot of compassion, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, we are just grateful for you and for all of the consulting that you did with Ashley and with Bob and myself and the team on the way. You are just one of the most generous people out there. And I wanted to ask how you are keeping busy in the pandemic. Do you have anything that you would like to plug? Anything you'd like to promote?
Oh, that's so kind. Well, first of all, regarding my generosity, like I said, Dallas is my hometown. So it was all brazen self-interest. It wasn't generosity at all. But that said, in terms of the pandemic, you know, it has been a relatively quiet time to write. And so I have a screenplay due, and I have a new play that we're supposed to do at the Goodman next year if the world opens up again. So I've really hunkered down and tried to get as much writing done as I can. I would never say that the chaos the country's been through and the health crisis that so many families have experienced has been in any way a blessing. It hasn't. But if there is a silver lining, it's given me some isolation and some quiet to let me do my work. Again, at a terrible, terrible cost. But I've kept busy by writing.
Thanks for sharing, and thank you for talking with us today, Doug. And I have faith that we're all going to come through this better and stronger.
I hope so. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a great afternoon, and don't forget that WaterTower's 25th season is coming to you soon with 3 workshops and 3 on-stage productions. Fingers crossed, and we are working hard every day to make sure that we continue the work. We also have our streaming options for all of you to enjoy safely at home if you choose, and we're very proud of the work. Currently, our concert, One Addison, is Community That Builds, is shooting on the main stage, all socially distanced, of course, with Broadway and local artists. So keep an eye out for that streaming soon.
I just want to say thank you again to Seth and James and Kara and David, our technical director today, for highlighting WaterTower and all regional theaters. I mean, in the last several months, I know we've all been turning to the arts for comfort and for hope. And I hope that today, if anybody who's watching is able, please support WaterTower, support another professional regional theater. As we look to the future, we are dedicated to providing safe ways to employ Dallas-Fort Worth artists and safe ways to entertain our patrons. If you are able to support, thank you. If you are not able to support financially at this time, I urge you to please visit starsinthehouse.com and click on the red call to action button right at the top of the page. It allows you to support a bipartisan bill by reaching out to your representatives, one that would support regional theaters like ours all across the nation during this very difficult crisis.
And thank you to all of the Larry Gatlin and Stephen and Dave and everybody who joined us today, Doug and Phyllis, and gosh, there were so many wonderful people that have stepped up and wanted to be on this amazing program, and we're so thankful for that. I want to take a moment to recognize all the extraordinary people of the theater and the hardships that most are going through right now. We are a family and a community that will all come out of this together. And if you out there, if you're a patron or a lover of the arts or whatever, just if you have a chance, please take a moment and let an artist know that their work is essential and that they matter. That's so important right now. And WaterTower Theater strives to remain a home for so many artists and for you, our audiences and our special friends. Live theater will indeed be back, and we thank you so much for everything. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.
Stay safe. Continue to wear masks. Continue to socially distance.
Yes.
We can't wait to be back in a theater with all of you.
That's right. Thank you, guys.